All right, welcome to Politics as You View It. As always, it is me, Linda Alela, and the crew that you don't get to see, but someday you will see them. Oh, the last time, should I say the last time? No, not the last time, but there's a time that we were here. And it was that time where there was so much of momentum and conversation about the going or impeaching of one Rigathi. Past tense. We now have a new deputy president, Professor Kithure Kindiki. Anywho, I'm here to talk about politics of intolerance in the country. It's nothing funny. It's nothing to smile about. It's nothing to be excited about. But I'll tell you, I am a journalist, and so sometimes we're so excited when such things are happening because guess what? We have stories to tell. We have news left, right, and center. You know, these are the times where you go and read the bulletin and you're like, yeah, bulletin kalikona, like kalikona, the flesh, you know? You're so excited about that. But as you grow old and you look at the events in the country, as you get to your senses, you realize that indeed there is nothing to smile about. Someone sang and said, look at all these things. Do you see anything to smile about? That's what we're asking ourselves as a country, as Kenyans. That there's so much intolerance in the country. And today I'm going to use the case study of Rigathi just like I began. I know there are so many other angles that we could look at, but in the best interest of time, it's good to narrow it down to one person. That power is transient. Today you're in power, the next day you're not. Just how do you treat the people around you? Just how do you treat the country? What do you do for the people you promised to work for at that particular time? Just the other day, we saw a rare occurrence where there was the former president, and there was a president, there was a former deputy, and there was a new deputy, all in one function somewhere in Embo. And then there was also the transitioning of the element of church and all that. I mean, there was someone who's just being installed as a man of God in a certain area. Now this is in Embo. And in this play, or in this ground, a lot of politics played out, silence kind of politics, where all of a sudden, Rigathi Gachagua, who was the president, or the deputy president, one of the most powerful people in the country, was seated somewhere down there, kwa crowd, not anymore at the podium where the who's and who's of society are seated. And we do not have any record of perhaps an acknowledgement from his boss, or even greetings. I don't even know whether greetings happened because alikuwa huko and people were excited about him. But he did not get this kind of, treatment that you would. And that's okay, that's in order. That's basically what the laws of the land dictate, that if you're not the deputy, then what business do you have being given, a seat right at the top? But someone would say, but then again, should have been the case as well with the former president. And that's the beauty of exiting power with some bit of glory. You are left with some bit of class and all that. Because I tell you this, were it not for the fact that Rigathi Gachagua was out through the impeachment process, maybe he would have gotten a seat somewhere there and the respect that is expected to be accorded to him. But that did not happen. I come to this conversation that is very important today. The intolerance that we witness today. That Rigathi Gachagua has decided that, yes, as the politician that he is, he's not going to tone it down, that he'll be moving across the different parts of the country, silently playing politics. He will go to funerals, he will go to weddings, he will go to events. And I say silently because he's trying to play his game so smart that, okay, fine, this is just a gathering and I'm allowed to go to this gathering as a Kenyan to go and just say what it is I can say. And his foot soldiers will talk about the politics in the country and so much so. And I don't know whether it is the president who's decided to show him, by the way, and he goes out there anyway to go to say, we do not need to play this politics of intolerance. Yet It is so visible in the country. So visible that the church is in it. And church is in order to go out there and condemn the things that are happening in the country if the church deems it fit to do so. Because then they are observing the events and they are thinking we're not headed in the right trajectory, and therefore we must call out the government so that they bring back the house to order. So the church goes out to say that, well, we associate ourselves with this current regime, a regime that they gladly installed in the name of or ni watu wa Mungu, you know, as if everybody else sio wa Mungu. Anyway, that's not important. So then there's this altercation that is so visible between the church and the state. The church that is supposed to keep the state, you know, in order, to oversee, to be the watchdog, is now saying something is amiss.
To our embarrassment, lakini kwa aibu yetu, is a government of fight.
This is not the government of God. It is not.
You can only spend your time hunting one another, but you do not care about the taxpayers who are suffering in very many ways in this country.
Look at what happened the other day when Rigathi had attended some funeral somewhere in Limuru. And we witnessed intolerance at its best. What was worrying is the fact that Kenyans were part and parcel of this. Yani, unachukua kiti, unaamua kugonga gari ya mtu, ipasuke hata dirisha. That wasn't Rigathi who picked that seat to do that. For sure, it wasn't him. Those were not the politicians. Fine, you could say they are goons hired by the very same politicians, but you are a Kenyan before you're a goon. Why do you allow for people to reduce you to that level? Like, I mean, why do we allow for politicians to take us round and toy around with us? Look at the fact that Kenyans have been complaining that the Ruto Rigathi or the Ruto presidency was not doing us any form of justice. That is why we're here complaining about the difficult times. Yet, when he is impeached, there are some who feel like, I am ameonewa. And I'm sorry to say this, that it even gets tribal. And persons from tribe A feel like, we're being targeted. Other persons from tribe B feel like, it is time now for you to be targeted. Why do we allow ourselves to get to that point? You know, I was so excited for a moment during this Gen Z protest, because I was like, finally the country now understands that, you know, the nation is bigger than an individual, that we must run away from these tribal cards. Yet they are still deeply engraved in us. Why? Why should you be amongst the people who are throwing stones left, right, and center? Iyo mawe ikikuangukia, ikutoe jicho. You're going to tell people that I had gone to some funeral and then politicians began their talk and then we just decided to engage and we decided to hit Rigathi's vehicles. One wants to ask, is this stage managed by the Rigathi side so that they say that, you know, they're being politically targeted? You almost want to ask yourself, could there be some truth in that? Or you want to imagine, could it be true that actually there's someone who's targeting him politically? And sometimes, you know, Rigathi was told 1,000,001 times, save yourself, save your face, and perhaps step down, resign before it gets to that level of impeachment. Perhaps you're going to save your political face. But he did not allow for that to happen. And so it went all the way to the last beat. That, constitutionally, that, you know, according to the laws of the land, would bar him from, engaging politically in so many ways. Yet he is still so active, as if to say that bare knuckles, Mulinitoa, Mr. President, so I'm coming for you. And when he comes for the president, why don't you just allow for that fight to be between the two of them? Why must you involve yourself for us to lose lives, for us to get hurt, for our children to be scared in those moments? You can imagine the children that were there in this funeral, and they're looking around and people are running and they do not know what to do. Because guess what? People have just decided that, they're going to bring their politics in this send-off that was otherwise supposed to be a decent one. I am not saying that Rigathi has done a mistake, that Senator Methu has done a mistake, that, Senator Kirugo Gathangu has done a mistake, or perhaps the government has done a mistake, but I am saying that we must not allow ourselves to stoop that low. Let us not water down what our young ones did by saying we stand together as Kenyans and we want to play clean politics and we want to go out there and demonstrate and we say that we need a better Kenya. A better Kenya is not going to come by people, hitting the windscreens of vehicles. A better Kenya is not going to come by people hurting each other. Though in Swahili they say amani haiji ila kwa ncha ya upanga. Sometimes you must make choices and say, those were the times of Akina Babu. These are our times. It is incumbent upon us not to get involved in politics of abduction, killings, church versus state battles, in politics of intolerance. We must shun this. We must call upon our leaders to remain sober in their submissions. We must call upon our members of parliament. You call out your member of parliament. Today we are scared of getting to events where members of parliament are, where leaders are, political leaders are. Unlike the times where we used to get excited, we say, hey, I want to invite my member of parliament to my wedding, to this funeral ceremony. We can't invite them anymore because there's going to be a fight. They're going to be, they're going to be stoned. And in the process of them being stoned, their goons are going to try to protect them. Their security guys are going to try to protect them. And in the process, many of us are going to get hurt. And so you'd rather not invite them, Squeeze hata, to a point where the church can say hata hatutaki pesa zenyu. To a point where you can say that you actually do not want their money. My friend, it is getting ugly. Uglier than we ever imagined, if there's such a word. But you see, the beauty of it all is that the power is in our hands to say that we do not want for it to be as intolerant as it is today. Kenyans must tell off these politicians indeed and tell them, by the way, if you're coming here, let it be the business of the day and nothing beyond that. Politics is healthy. Politics is good. It is good for us to speak about the political events in the country because guess what? They run the world. But we must as well tell them that if this politics is not going to bring food on our table, if this politics is not going to bring us development, if this politics is not going to give us a peaceful coexistence as a nation, if this politics is not going to bring investment into the country, if this politics is not going to allow for us to get the grace and the respect that we deserve at that global stage, what's the point of playing this politics? Rigathi, calm down. Calm down. Please don't poke. Don't poke so much so. And the state, fine, he's out. If at all it is you who's battling him, why don't you just ignore him and let's focus on delivering for the people of Kenya. My name is Linda Alela, and this is Politics as we View It.